Good morning, everybody. I'm here with the Dowin PB Pro. It is early in the morning for a weekday for me. I have a few meetings throughout the day, and I want to get about 13 in this today. This is going to kick off the conclusive decision-making process between 3 shoes for my racing shoe for the Florence Marathon. So this is the third out of the 3, or the first, depending on how you have. Also the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo and the Dynafish Danian 1 to choose between. I will be making a comparison video between those two shoes coming up soon. But for now, let's go get some 13-ish miles. One thing I noticed while I was editing the video yesterday was that I don't really swing my arms very much when I run. And I'm wondering if that's contributing or like a symptom of my back being arched when I run and the anterior pelvic tilt that I've been talking about, because the arms being stuck back like retracts my lats a little bit, and then it pulls like curvature into my lower back where my upper back is like flared posteriorly and my lower back is like arched forwards or like curved inwards to the front of the body. I'm not really sure if the arms contribute to that or are a symptom of it, but something I noticed yesterday. As far as Dowin PB Pro, first few strides this morning, I kind of did myself a disservice yesterday running in the Street Fly 2 and then the Takumi for 22 miles because my top of foot on my left foot, running along the tendon of the big toe, the extensor tendon, is like bruised. Not in a tendonitis way, in a like I tied the Street Fly 2 too tight type of way. I should have gone for a more comfort-oriented pick for today's run, but with a limited amount of time in the day that I have today, I needed to get mileage in, and I wanted something quick, and I do need to decide on a race shoe so I could stop running in all of these carbon shoes and focus on training and being prepared for the one shoe that I'm going to use, not all of them. This is really a great shoe. It's currently in last place, even though today's starting out really nice. And the reason is it just doesn't quite wow me in any particular way. I mean, it has my 5K PR, so obviously it's fast. And the foam feels good underfoot. And I don't really have any problems with it. But it doesn't it doesn't excite me to run in. And the Dynafish Danian 1 excites me, and the Edge Tokyo is so similar to the Edge Paris that it gives me a lot of trust and confidence. Dowin PB Pro 13.1, an hour 37:44, 7:27 pace, coming off the back of a 22-mile double day. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this shoe. I couldn't find a single reason I wouldn't use this. Maybe like slight stability concerns, but again, this is like a really cracked, like broken street network in Rochester, so it's the situation where I step in a crack and maybe it's not stable for that reason, but it's not the inherent foam stability so much. The one thing I think this is missing is just like excitement generally. I don't think it's exactly the most fun. It feels like a little dampened, the bounce. It's still bouncy, but like it doesn't announce the bounce. It's not announcing the bouncing. Like the Dynafish is a little more comfortable underfoot, and it's a little more bouncy underfoot. And I just gotta get back into the Edge Tokyo to see how it stacks up against these two, because I've gotten a ton of miles in the Dynafish and the Darwin lately. But that was an extreme effort. I was locked in. That's the other part about this. This locks in extremely well. Very rhythmic. Once you get your pace, you could stay with it. Granted, it's a pace range, not exact times, but that's more speaking to my experience level than the shoes lock-in ability. I felt very like it almost was monotonous, like rhythmic and exact cadence over and over again, where you get into a meditative state. That's what these shoes excel at, or have so far excelled at. So I gotta get cleaned up. All right, we're back in the studio with the Darwin PB Pro, and man, did things get interesting today. So 13 miles, all averaging a pace of 7:27, felt pretty great throughout. Definitely a little fatigued from yesterday's 22-mile double day. That said, the Darwin PB Pro performed phenomenally. It was not like I didn't expect it, because every run I've had in this has been really good. There's something about this shoe that's a little boring, and I can't quite put my finger on what that is. And today it was a little less so, but I still felt it a little bit. And so I'm going to try to describe to you what I mean about that boringness. I think that, right, the foam is fairly immediate. It's maybe not as explosive or direct as other foams on the market. So like your typical run-of-the-mill, soft-ish, middle-of-the-road PIBA has a really nice like compression rate and then explosive rebound rate, and you feel like something is occurring beneath your feet. And it could feel, PIBA could be tuned to feel soft, or it could be tuned to feel, a lot firmer. If it's a firmer PIBA, it feels sort of like you're running on a hollow door, or like it's, just like a really nice bouncy rebound. It's a bad description. With the TPEEs of the world, like Light Strike Pro, it's more like a rubber bouncy ball type of feel, like a nice rubberized, not super sinky, definitely super firm, but just like a particular texture to the underfoot feel. Then you have your aliphatic TPUs, which this is, and it's something that I haven't run in a ton of aliphatic TPU foams. The main one that I can discuss openly is the forefoot of the Edge Tokyo, and that's a difficult one to evaluate because there is PIBA, a harder PIBA underneath it, which I think is just a more energetic feeling foam, generally speaking. But the forefoot has this slight mushiness to it, but not a mushiness that you feel like you need to climb out of the foam. It's soft and comfortable without being sacrificing the speed, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's an interesting sensation that's hard to put my finger on, and maybe once I've run in more aliphatic TPUs, I'll have a better descriptor for it. But that's sort of what I'm getting with this, even more so than the Edge Tokyo, where there's not a lot of explosive bounce to it. It's not crazy energetic. It's also not crazy stable. It feels higher stack than the Dynafish Danian 1, even though I believe it's actually lower stack than the Dynafish on paper. But it's a peculiar sensation that I'm not totally sure that I love or could love, but I definitely don't dislike it. It's like fast. It doesn't have that assistive springiness, cheat code feeling of a lot of carbon racing shoes, typically PIBA ones. But it does have the speed, and it's just one of those where today, like, I was hitting the paces that I wanted to be hitting, if not even better, given the time window that I had to complete the mileage that I had on the calendar. And this performed effortlessly. The fit was fantastic. The heel did not slip at all. It was perfect form. Once you locked into a pace, you stayed at that pace. One thing I guess that maybe wasn't my favorite about it today specifically was it does feel like an awful lot of foam in the forefoot. And I like a low drop shoe, but it was almost as if the full platform wanted to be struck in the midfoot, and not in a way where the Hoka Cielo X1 wants to be struck in the midfoot, because that's where all of the foam is. But it's almost like I couldn't get my foot positioned far enough forward, and that's where like a higher heel might come in. Now, I don't want to advocate for this having a higher heel, because I like having low drop options in my rotation, and frankly, that's why I reached for this today, because since my hip still has a little bit of pain that it's recovering from, I'm trying to load my calves right now as much as possible to avoid further hurting my hips. So there's a reason I reached for this today. But overall, like, maybe it's not exactly to the shoe's credit that I don't feel like I am really ever getting all the way up to the forefoot. And I don't know if that's something that they would have to play with drop. But, I'm nitpicking. This is like serious hair splitting dialogue right now, or monologue right now, where it gave me the performance of a day. I don't think that I've run one half marathon faster than this ever, which is in a race, and that's my PR. This is the second fastest half marathon that I've ever run, and I just sort of casually popped off with that after a 22-mile double day. Credit to the shoe. Also, credit to me, feeling great about my fitness right now. I'm very grateful that I was able to hit that, especially with some pain that I'm experiencing, and especially after such a bad series of running days. So I'm feeling great right now. And all of that goes to say the shoe is phenomenal, and there's actually nothing wrong with it. I would have no problem taking this for a full marathon. Maybe the stability in the ankle twisting sense could be an issue, because the Rochester streets are pretty cracked. I've said this before on this channel. If you're new here, welcome. The streets in Rochester, New York are terrible, filled with potholes and chasms and cracks. And I did get a couple of times where I would step on a crack slightly wrong and have my foot pivot. But, that's going to happen in pretty much any shoe that you run in, especially racing shoes. And so I don't know if I want to ding it for that. That's the only real concern that I would have about taking this on race day. The only real reason I wouldn't want to take this on race day is that it's a little neutral and a little boring kind of, but in a way that's still performance oriented. And yeah, I mean, it's light on foot. It is a fast shoe. It's not the fastest shoe. You don't need the fastest shoe for a marathon in my pace range, at least, right? I'm not going to be shooting for 650s, right? I'm looking at probably around the 730 range for a full marathon in ideal conditions. And that's where this was performing excellently. So it's really now down to comparing this to the two other options that I am racking my brains over trying to decide which to choose. I haven't run in the Edge Tokyo for a while, because when I initially did a couple of runs in that was my presumptive pick. It was before I got this and the Dynafish Danian 1 in the mail from China. And these two shoes, even more so the Dynafish Danian 1, have given the Edge Tokyo a run for its money. But who knows, maybe when I slip that back on foot and hit some mileage in it, maybe then I'll remember why the Edge Tokyo was such an obvious pick to me to begin with. But yeah, as far as the shoe's concerned, if it doesn't become my marathon pick, I'm going to get plenty of miles in it. I mean, you would think that this foam would be not the most durable, being an uncompressed aliphatic TPU, and only time will tell. But I haven't seen it hasn't broken down really, or degraded in terms of the height of the platform since I've gotten it, or since I've been running in it. And yeah, it's taking on a bunch of dirt, obviously, because there's a lot of it's a fuzzy texture on the outside being uncompressed. There's no finishing sheen on the foam. Lots to love about it, but I didn't fall in love with it. I hope that makes sense. For now, I appreciate your attention and stay in motion.